Funniest thing I ever said at the wrong time was blank.
Well, it's probably not surprising. It's just flat out, I love you to someone who really thought we were in a situationship. And I think
Right.
I did that a number of times. So not funny to me,
Right.
funny, funny, painful funny. Yeah.
So let's bring in Hollywood divorce attorney David Glass for more on this. David,
People going through divorces are going through some of the hardest times of their lives, and a lot of what they're going through is emotional. And in any divorce, there's a huge sense of loss, and loss of relationship, of money, some friends.
Hi, I'm David Glass for the Hourglass Podcast. As we continue our deep dive into humor and its impact on raising one's spirits during any difficult time, we welcome today's guest, Robyn Lynne Norris. She's certainly a person in the know. She's a well-studied veteran in the genres of improv and sketch comedy. Some background. She's the creator and star of the play Date Me, an OkCupid experiment, which ran to sold-out audiences in LA, Chicago, and off-Broadway at New York City's West Side Theater for 6 years. Her credits include the Emmy and PGA-nominated epic Rap Battles of History and the comedic pilot Expert of. Robyn hails from Second City and has performed in Chicago on their national touring company and on the Las Vegas main stage. She currently lives and performs in Los Angeles. Now, we're eager to get Robyn's point of view on humor and how it can help those going through a divorce. Thanks so much for joining me on the Hourglass podcast this morning.
Of course. I'm excited to be here.
I see that you've done a number of different types of comedy, from sketch to improv to more scripted material. Do you have a preference among those three, or do you enjoy doing the full range of those types of comedy?
I enjoy all of them. My core background is first and foremost as an actor. So I do like, longer scripts and everything. That said, when I graduated college, I moved straight to Chicago to do improv and comedy. Like it sparked such a
Right.
passion in me. So it's hard to choose. I've put in my 10,000 hours and then some in the
Right.
improv and sketch comedy world. So just being able to bring laughter to people is such a huge joy. So I
Mhm.
don't know that I have a favorite, although right now I'm more interested in longer form story content.
Right, right.
Mhm.
And so, tell the audience a little bit about your Date Me, an OkCupid experiment show. I understand it's the longest running Second City premium show. Ran for maybe 6 years in
Mhm.
various locations. Give us an introduction to the show for people who aren't familiar with it.
Sure, the show was quite a surprise to me. I had written many, many shows over the years in Chicago, and then I moved out to Los Angeles, and I thought this was just going to be another show that would run for a couple of months. And then it
Mhm.
did end up taking off, like you said, in LA and then Chicago, and then eventually off Broadway. It was completely an accident the way it came about. I had moved to LA. I was having a hard time. I had gone through some tumultuous relationships. I
Right.
was kind of done with love. I really was at that point, that cliche of like, I guess it's not going to happen for me.
Mhm.
And I had also experienced another significant loss of a friend. So I was just
Mhm.
feeling really down. And a friend of mine called me and she was getting on OkCupid. And she was like, "Hey, are you on there? I wrote a
Right.
profile and I want you to check it out." And I was very old fashioned. I was like, "No, I have never done online dating. I never would." And yet, you have to have a profile to look at other people's profiles.
Right.
So to help her out, was alone. I was just feeling silly. And I was like, well, I'm not putting myself out there. So I created a ridiculous cat lady and
Uh-huh.
I filled out the profile. I thought it was absurd. It was called Tracy Loves Cats. And
Uh-huh.
I answered every question about kitties, like I love kitties. If you don't love kitties, you won't love me. And then I was like doing robot sounds like beep boop, beep bop. It was just absurd. And
Right.
then I looked at my friend Lori's profile, forgot about it. And then a couple days later, I had hundreds of messages to Tracy
Right.
Loves Cats.
Right.
And they were hilarious, people speaking in full grammatical cat sentences, like meowing at me.
Mhm.
And so it sparked a curious question. Why is this cat lady more popular online than I was in real life at that time. So I did, my friend Bob Ladwig is the co-creator of the show, and I kind of took the idea to him and I was like, let's do this experiment. Like, let's come up with what we think are undateable characters and see if people are into them. So
Right.
we did a whole experiment, created 38 characters. And the goal, I also want to say up front, the goal was not to mess with people. We weren't reaching out to other people.
Right.
It was kind of like, if they thought our characters were funny and interacted with us, we would play along. And to your point, though, it took me on this journey where I became really obsessive. I started to get worried about all the lonely people out there.
Right.
I felt like I started to spiral, like I had to get back to everyone. And it became a way of healing for me after losing one of my best friends who had passed away, and I didn't realize it at the time. So it was this great journey for me of healing and connecting with strangers, and sometimes that can be helpful.
Yeah, amazing. And out of all that, replying and attempting to connect online, did you manage to develop any sort of real friendships, or did it end at the digital interaction?
Such a great question. We set up these ground rules because we really didn't want to mess with people. So one of the rules was we can't meet people in person. So that was a rule right off the start. That said, like I told you, I did start to feel a real connection to a lot of people, and not necessarily romantically as much as just on a human level, because it was just seeing their humanity and people out there searching, and just everybody's searching for something, and they're quirky and strange, and just such a variety. So I didn't actually meet anyone online in that journey, although, some of the messages really touched my heart. It did open me up, though, and you won't believe it. In the final processes of writing the show, I met my current husband in person. So it was kind of, it did help me meet someone just in a different way.
That's amazing. So just the process of connecting, of feeling other people's loneliness or experiences, their efforts to reach out, somehow opened you up a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
And you might ask, where did you meet your husband?
I met my husband it's a comedy theater. He's also an improviser and actor. So we met in person, and which is the way I wanted it. Although the experiment did really open my eyes to what online dating could be. And I think it is a great venue for meeting people.
Sure. And I asked because I met my wife in a therapist waiting room. You're not supposed to run into someone in the waiting room, but I was early, she was early, and I was there at the wrong time. And it led to us dating, and now we're married for years and years. But it's sort of a funny LA story that you go see a therapist. Maybe you'll meet your spouse.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah. Now, after a breakup, do you think online dating could help people pull themselves out of the pit that they're in the mud puddle that they're sitting in?
I absolutely do. Now, anyone who's online dated knows, and what I saw in the experiment, there's gonna be some strange stuff and possibly offensive stuff. There's just a lot of things that you're going to encounter. It gives you the opportunity to put your real self out there. We all kind of create these profiles that we think people want to see. And then if you actually start to do it for real and you start connecting with people, what I learned through the experiment was the more yourself you are, all of the quirks and the interesting specifics, you actually meet people who you will connect with. And I think even if you end up not in a romantic relationship, say you're going through a bad breakup and you're just at the lowest, you can connect with people, right? And also, I'm pretty sensitive. So the idea of ghosting people, which pre-online dating wasn't as widespread, that would have really hurt my feelings, I think, back in the day. And I think now online dating is so prevalent that people are kind of used to that. So it's almost like, okay, well, that one ghosted me, on to the next. So you can, it's a way of kind of getting your confidence up, and then maybe you don't date someone, maybe you just start talking to people, and that kind of lifts you a little bit gradually out of your breakup.
Yeah, it's like a warm-up period. At the very least, a warm-up period into meeting people, getting your confidence up, maybe toughening up your skin to deal with the way people are these days, jumping in, jumping out, disappearing.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you written about breakups at all in any of your writing?
Such a good question. I would say in my early 20s, that was pretty much almost all of my sketches were about a break.
Yeah.
I'm such a hopeless romantic. And I was also just always running towards the wrong fit for me.
Mhm.
So that comedy and comedy writing was a way of me processing that. So a lot of my comedy was out of that. I would say not as much anymore. I've been happily married for a number of years.
Yeah.
And as you grow, you tend to write about what you know. Back in the day, though, a lot of my sketches were about dating, yeah, and
Can you
breakups.
remember any particularly funny breakup sketch or an improv setup or a line that you used?
Sure. Yeah, I think one that comes to mind, I called it changing seats, and it was I was dating someone, and he said we were on a break, and me at the time took that literally. Oh, we're just on a break. We're gonna be back together in no
Right.
time.
Right.
And I showed up to a show, it was a comedy show, and he was there in the audience and watching the new girl that he was dating.
Oh, wow.
And so I, being me, was just like, okay, I won't make this up. Let me just go see if I can just sit next to him as friends on this temporary break. And so I sat next to him and it was so awkward. And he eventually was like, do you mind? Just, I don't want her to
Right.
see you. And
Mhm.
so my sketch was like that about me kind of sitting there and then watching the show and he's laughing extra hard at everything she does. And slowly I have to move seat by seat through
Yeah, yeah.
everybody. So it kind of helped me process the ridiculousness of that. Yeah.
Sure, sure. On a more serious note,
Mhm.
if you're going through any kind of hard time, whether it's a breakup, as you mentioned, the loss of a friend, maybe the loss of a job, being
Mhm.
unemployed, um, how important is it, do you think, to use humor yourself on a daily basis?
I think it's hugely important. There's a reason why I was drawn to comedy, even though like I said, a very sensitive person. I love drama and
Mhm.
all of those forms of art. Comedy, to me, there's nothing like laughter. If you see a live show, I think there's a collectiveness there where it's not usually one person laughing, it's a group of people. And then
Yeah,
suddenly you're like, oh, I'm not alone. We're all here together. So that's the live aspect. And just finding ways to inject humor into your day if you're really feeling down, I think can make a world of difference. It's just so easy to kind of spiral down and not look
yeah,
for those things. And sometimes just a smile, it does slowly bring you back to, it's not going to solve everything. I
right.
think, though, if you make an effort to at least seek it out, it can really help.
Now, if you were a comedy doctor and you had prescription privileges, what would you prescribe for someone with a broken heart?
Someone with a broken heart, a comedy doctor. I love this question.
Yeah.
I think there's two versions. I think there's one is whatever comedy speaks to you, like seek that out. If it's, oh, memes are making me laugh, get online and find only the ones that really make you laugh and kind of lift your day up. Or if you have a specific movie or TV show that really lifts you up, like just put it on. Even if you don't feel like watching it, you'll probably start to laugh. And then on the more serious note, I think reaching out to people who do lift you up and who maybe share your same sense of humor, like, hey, do you want to go to this thing? I think surrounding yourself with the people who champion you as opposed to focusing on that one person who broke up with you or the person
Yeah.
that's getting you down is a way of building that support. And then laughter will naturally come with that.
Yeah, and I think on that part two of your answer, having a handful of people as the people that you're reaching out to
Yeah.
really helps. Sometimes when we're in the depths of our sadness or our despair, we can be a lot for other people, and so maybe
Mhm.
spreading that around so no
Yes.
one person gets overwhelmed with us would probably help.
Oh, that is such good advice. And I know
Yeah.
I didn't follow that in my early 20s either. I was just anyone who will listen. And I think, yeah, yeah.
Do you have a favorite breakup line from the comedy that you've written or performed or that you've seen in
Oh,
movies or?
that's such a good question, too. And I wasn't sure. Honestly, I think for me, it's probably not a breakup line as much as what I would, I hate I hate letting anyone down. So for me, it
Right.
would be like, you're amazing. It really is me. It's that cliche,
Right.
but it's
Right.
like, we're just not a right fit. When I was doing the experiment, I did feel compelled to, if I could tell someone was starting to get real feelings, I really did reply to everybody like, I just want to let you know you're awesome. And in that scenario, I was like, I started seeing someone, or I try to let people
Right.
down because I just didn't want them hanging on. But I don't know if I have a funny line as much because I feel like I don't ever want to make people feel bad. So it's more the
Sure.
cliche, like letting people down easy. Yeah.
And getting back to that OK Cupid show, the Date Me
Hmm.
show. Um, I know someone who's a producer in a reality TV show, and he did a weight loss show years and years
Hmm.
ago. And he started out thinking this is going to be funny. All these heavy
Yeah.
people now they can't eat and they're going to be miserable and fighting with each other. And
Mm.
very quickly into the filming, he realized that it could be a very hopeful show. And he recut the whole first season, and then it ran
Oh.
for years and years. Did you have any of that sort of shift in getting into this online dating sort of observation and experimentation?
Absolutely. I love that story too. That's so wonderful to hear because I my I kind of have like a code for my comedy. Like I don't really want to make fun of people, especially because a lot of times people are going to escape what's happening
Yeah,
in their world, right?
yeah,
So there are those really easy go-to jokes, and I try really hard not to do that. That said, the start of this experiment, my friend Bob and I, we were just laughing because we couldn't believe how
right,
absurd people were talking like cats and meowing
yeah,
at us. So
right,
it
right.
did start in a more lighthearted way, like this is going to be hilarious. Oh my
Sure.
gosh, can you believe these people? And
Mm-hmm.
then the humanity of it pretty quickly took over. Like, oh, I mean, it was still very funny. I mean, it was the reason it ran for so long is it was a
Yeah,
comedy show.
yeah.
And I also believe it's because it was a show with heart to it, because you just can't deny that humanity, I think, when it's
Mhm.
there, and you might as well dive in.
Right, right. Um, if you mind if I go the other way with you, you've been in a
Mhm.
relationship, you're happy, you're
Mhm.
married. What do you think makes for a good marriage or a good relationship, long-term relationship with people?
I think, to the point of this podcast, humor is a big part for us because we are both in comedy. So
Yeah,
even if we hit bumps in the road, if we can make each other laugh, that's a quick way to pull ourselves out
yeah,
of an
yeah.
argument, like, and honestly, for me, it's like core values. I know, I think I was, prior to meeting my husband, searching for people that were, I don't know, had different values, and I didn't realize it. And at the core, my husband and I are so different. Like, oh, I'm so emotional, and he's very, level-headed, yet our values are the same. The way we treat people, I never have to worry about it. He's just the kindest person, and
Right.
I think it's the values thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's and
communication. Yeah.
sure, and then using comedy, it's or just something unexpected. I remember in the early years when I was with my wife, we were on the street. We were starting to get into some sort of fight. Neither of us really knew what the argument was about. We were just starting
Hmm.
to feel a lot of tension. So I picked her up over my shoulder and I ran down like a half a block on the sidewalk, just whooping. And by the time we were done, we were both laughing so hard. We didn't even know what we were laughing at. We didn't know what we were arguing about. But sort of the moment passed, and that unexpected break in whatever's
Hmm.
developing has served us both well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a perfect example. Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. Do you have any closing advice, humorous or not, that you would want to pass on to our audience? Most of our audience members are going through a divorce or are
Hmm.
just post-divorce and trying to figure out how to move on. Do you have any other advice that you could share with them?
Yeah, I think it's along with some of the things I said earlier, is when you're having those hard times, it's hard to remember, like, it's not just this. So reaching out to the people who know you're a superhero, know you're a superstar,
Mhm.
like your core people who can lift you up and just gently pull you out of it, even if it's for a couple minutes,
Mhm.
at a time, knowing that instead of just I'm going to deal with this on my own and isolating, which is a very real thing and makes sense. I understand that. reach out to the people who are your true people, because they'll remind you of what you deserve. And I think that's really important.
Great advice. Where can people find more about you, more things you're in, more things you're developing? What's coming up for you?
Oh, thanks for asking. You can find pretty much everything on my website, Robyn with a Y, Lynne with an E, Norris.com. And then I'm on Instagram, same handle, Robyn Lynne Norris. And you can find comedy videos. You can find details on my upcoming acting things and things that I'm writing. So everything's there. Yeah.
Great. And so I've got 3 fill-in-the-blank questions for you to wrap things up. Comedy is my go-to on a bad day because blank.
Because laughter, it lifts me up and it instantly makes me feel connected to others.
If I were giving advice to a friend who was going through a nasty divorce, I would tell them to blank.
Do whatever you need to do to center yourself, whether that's, meditation, whether that's looking up things online that only bring you joy and cutting out the things that cause you stress. And again, surrounding yourself with the people who love you.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Robyn. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Oh, you as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for watching. Check back with us for another new episode, or visit thehourglasspodcast.com, where you'll find dozens of archived interviews, all of which are meant to help you. Thanks.